There is a moment in every life when the silence gets loud, a moment when the stillness around you screams with the truth you've been running from. Not the noise of the world, but the quiet echo inside that asks, "Is this all there is?" Not the voice of doubt, but the whisper of something more, the whisper of destiny. Success does not begin with luck. It does not start with talent. It is not born in wealth, fame, or opportunity. Success begins the moment you decide that this life, this one, will not be wasted in distraction, comparison, or regret. Decide that you will no longer wait for permission to become who you were born to be. Decide to step out of the fog of maybe someday and walk with fire into the light of now. We become what we think about. But today we scroll more than we think. We consume more than we create. And we wait for the world to hand us meaning, while it sells us distractions. But meaning isn't given. It's forged. In solitude, in silence, in struggle. Success begins not when the stars align, but when your mind aligns. When you stop wishing and decide. Decide to think intentionally. Decide to act deliberately. Decide to live fully. No one drifts to greatness. You don't stumble into a legacy. Mountains are not climbed by accident. Success begins with clarity. Clarity that cuts through the noise like a blade. Not the kind handed to you in a motivational poster, but the clarity you fight for. The clarity that comes when you sit with your discomfort long enough to name it. The clarity that burns away excuses and reveals the raw edge of your potential. You see, most people don't fail because they aim too high and miss. They fail because they aim too low and hit. They settle for comfort dressed up as success. But comfort never wrote a history book. Comfort never led a revolution. Comfort never transformed a soul. You must wake up, not just in the morning, but in your life. Wake up to the fact that no one is coming to rescue you. Not your boss, not your parents, not your friends, not your followers. This is your race to run. And the moment you decide to run it with everything in you, that moment is the birthplace of power. Do not wait for motivation. It is a fickle guest, showing up late and leaving early. Wait for it, and you'll be waiting forever. But decide, with discipline, with vision, with fire, and you will find that motivation follows motion. Discipline is the bridge between desire and destiny. It is the daily decision to act not from emotion, but from purpose. To get up when you don't feel like it. To show up when it would be easier to quit. To choose the future over the fleeting. Think of the greats, the minds who shaped the world not with luck, but with will. Leonardo sketching by candlelight, Tesla sleeping in laboratories, Lincoln reading law books by firelight with no formal education. What did they all have in common, they decided? They decided that their present circumstances would not define their future reality. They decided that the voice inside was louder than the noise outside. They decided that excuses were cheap, and destiny was expensive. You can have comfort, or you can have growth, but you can't have both. Growth demands discomfort, not as punishment, but as preparation. Like steel in the forge, you are made stronger by pressure. Pain sharpens purpose, loss awakens gratitude, delay develops patience, and you must be willing to endure the fire, not because you enjoy the heat, but because you know what you are becoming. The problem is never that people don't have dreams. It's that they never make the decision to commit to them. They flirt with possibility but marry fear. They love the idea of success but not the price. But make no mistake, success has a price. And the currency is your focus, your effort, your time, your soul. Not once, not twice, but over and over in the quiet choices no one sees. While others chase validation, you build foundations. While others seek comfort, you sharpen clarity. And while others wait for the right time, you realize the time was always now. So decide. Decide not just to exist, but to live. Not to conform, but to become. Not to react, but to create. Because the world doesn't need another echo. It needs your voice, your vision, your decision to rise, no matter how many times you've fallen. And when doubt comes, as it will, you look it in the eye and say, I have already decided. When fear whispers, what if you fail? You answer, I have already decided. When the path gets dark and no one believes in you, not even yourself, you remember, I have already decided. This isn't about waiting for the world to change. It's about becoming the force that changes it. It's about waking up each day with the conviction that your life is your message, your breath is your vote, and every action is a declaration of who you are and who you are becoming.
Do not waste your days waiting to be ready. You are not clay waiting to be molded. You are fire waiting to be unleashed. The decision does not need permission. The decision is permission.
The moment you decide is the moment the world begins to rearrange itself around your conviction. Not immediately, not obviously, but inevitably, because decision is a magnet. It pulls opportunities from the shadows. It calls mentors into your path. It turns closed doors into hallways, and it transforms your mind from a wandering flame into a focused fire. Do not be fooled. This world does not yield to the passive. It yields to those who meet life with intent, with presence, with the unshakable knowledge that while you cannot control the wind, you can command the sail. And that's what belief is. Belief is not wishful thinking. It's not empty affirmations or slogans printed on t-shirts. Belief is earned in the battlefield of your thoughts. It is forged when you fight the lie that says you're not enough and replace it with the truth. I decide what I become. You must understand this. The world reflects not what you want, but what you are. Not what you say, but what you expect. You do not attract what you dream about. You attract what you believe you are worthy of receiving. And belief is not a lightning strike. It is a muscle. It grows when tested. It expands when challenged. And it only reveals its strength when everything around you dares you to quit. There is a war being waged every day, not on battlefields, but between your ears. A war between who you've been and who you could become. And the one who wins is the one you feed. Feed fear, and it becomes your master. Feed faith, and it becomes your wings. When you wake up, what story do you tell yourself? Is it the story of someone who is tired, unlucky, overwhelmed? Or is it the story of someone who decides each day to rise, regardless of the storm? Because the mind is a servant, and it will obey whatever master you assign. Tell it you are not ready. It will find every excuse to delay. Tell it you are destined, and it will start carving paths in the wilderness. Do not let the past drag you like chains. The moment you decide, you are no longer bound by who you were. You are reborn, not in body, but in direction. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop seeking approval and start living from alignment. And that shift, that moment of decision, it is the beginning of freedom. Because once you are clear, once you decide what matters, everything else begins to fall away. The opinions, the noise, the distractions, the doubts. You no longer move to impress. You move to express. You no longer perform, you build. And you begin to understand that vision is not just what you see. It's what you refuse to unsee. It's what burns behind your eyelids at night. It's the version of you that haunts your silence. And until you honor that vision, you will always feel that tug, that ache that tells you, you were meant for more. Vision is not some distant fantasy. It's a mirror showing you what's possible when you stop living on autopilot. But vision without action is a beautiful prison, and dreams without discipline are just illusions. So what now? You've decided, you've declared. Now you do. Not once, not when it's easy, not when the world is clapping. You do when it's hard. You do when it's lonely. You do when no one believes, and especially when you don't feel like believing. Discipline is the path through the chaos. It is the unglamorous, unshared, unrewarded repetition of truth. While others sleep, you study. While others party, you prepare. While others complain, you create. And it's not because you're better, it's because you've decided that your life matters. You've decided to trade cheap dopamine for real dignity, to trade validation for transformation, to trade the comfort of the couch for the courage of the climb. You begin to measure your days not by how easy they felt, but by how aligned they were with who you are becoming. And in that alignment, in that space where your actions reflect your intention, success stops being a fantasy and starts becoming your rhythm. You begin to move differently. You carry yourself with an internal gravity, a pull that no one can name but everyone can feel. People say, "You've changed," and you say, "Yes, I've decided to." You begin to speak not just from your mouth, but from your mission. You walk not just with steps, but with purpose. And you listen not to the crowd, but to the compass inside you that always knew the way. But know this, there will be days you want to quit. There will be seasons where the world seems silent and the progress feels invisible, where the sacrifices feel too steep and the reward too far. But hear me now. That is when the decision matters most, when no one is clapping, when no one sees the tears, when no one understands the grind. That is the proving ground. That is where ordinary men and women become legends. Not in the light, but in the dark. Not when it's convenient, but when it's crucial. And you must remember, the decision wasn't just made once. It is made daily, hourly, in every choice to keep walking when your legs ache, in every breath you take when your chest is tight with fear. Success is not an event. It's a series of decisions that echo across time. And when you decide, truly decide, you are no longer playing by the rules of the crowd. You are writing your own code. You become an architect of reality, and your life becomes a sculpture, chiseled not by chance, but by choice. You don't wait for opportunities. You become opportunity. You don't chase meaning, you live it. And the world? It begins to respond to the energy of your decision. You see, the moment you decide, truly decide, you stop auditioning for your own life. You stop shrinking your dreams to fit the comfort of others. You stop living as a watered-down version of your soul's full potential. You rise above the noise, above the fear, above the habits that once ruled you. Because the moment you decide, you begin to remember who you really are, not what the world has told you, not what the past has tried to imprint on you, but who you were before you were told to be realistic, before the world put limits on your imagination, before you were trained to doubt yourself. The decision is not about becoming something new. It's about uncovering the fire that's always been there. It's about silencing the world long enough to hear your own voice again. That voice that whispers, "You were made for this. You have something the world needs. Keep going." And once you hear that voice again, once you let it grow louder than your excuses, you begin to walk differently. You begin to command the room without saying a word. Because conviction is louder than volume. Clarity is more powerful than noise. And people feel it. They feel the difference in someone who has decided. But decision is not just a spark. It is a discipline. You must guard it, feed it, protect it from the opinions, the doubt, the laziness that creeps in disguised as logic. Because mediocrity is always recruiting, and it speaks with a soft voice. Take a break. Do it tomorrow. No one will know, but you will know. And every time you choose comfort over progress, a piece of your potential dies quietly. But every time you choose growth, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's messy, your life expands. Your capacity grows. Your identity shifts. You no longer see obstacles as stop signs. You see them as training. Every setback becomes a sharpening stone. Every rejection becomes redirection. Every failure becomes a teacher that never lies. History proves it. Greatness is never born in perfect conditions. It's born in pressure. It's born in silence. It's born in people who refuse to stay down. Look at Nelson Mandela, locked away for 27 years, but his mind, free, his spirit, unbroken, because he had decided long before the world tried to break him. Look at Thomas Edison, 1,000 failed attempts to invent the light bulb, 1,000 lessons in persistence, because his decision to bring light was greater than the darkness of delay. And what about you? What if every closed door is building your character? What if every delay is preparing your resilience? What if success hasn't been denied, only delayed until you're ready to carry it with strength? The world doesn't need more followers. It needs leaders. And leaders are not born. They are built in the decisions no one sees. When you wake up early and the bed is warm, but your purpose is louder. When you invest in yourself while others are wasting time. When you keep showing up, even when the results haven't shown up yet. Because decision without action is delusion. You can't think your way into a new life. You have to move into it. You have to sweat for it, sacrifice for it, let go of what's familiar, and walk into what is calling you. Success doesn't respond to the timid. It responds to the relentless. those who are willing to look foolish, those who are willing to fail forward, those who are willing to start small and stay consistent. You think the giants of our time began with crowds cheering them on? Number. They began in quiet rooms, in garages, in notebooks, in early mornings and lonely nights. But they had a decision, a why that kept them anchored, a fire that no one else could see, until the world had no choice but to feel it. And now it's your turn. This world will give you exactly what you demand of it, not what you hope for, not what you wish for, but what you claim through your daily discipline. Your thoughts are architects, your words are blueprints, your actions are the bricks, and every day you are building something, a future, or a fortress of regret. You are either feeding your vision or starving it with indecision. There is no neutral. So when you open your eyes tomorrow, ask yourself, what am I building today with the tools of my attention, my time, and my energy? Because you can't plant seeds of doubt and expect a harvest of greatness. You can't speak limitation and live abundance. You can't live like a prisoner and expect the reward of a king. Your mind is the garden, your beliefs, the soil, your decisions, the water, and your habits, they are the sun that brings it all to life. This is the truth most run from. You are responsible, not your parents, not your boss, not your environment, you. And that truth, while heavy, is your freedom. Because if you are the problem, you are also the solution. If you created the life you have now, you can create the life you want next. But only if you decide, deeply, irrevocably, without apology. And once you do, you won't need to convince anyone. You won't need to prove anything, because your life will speak louder than your words, and the world will feel it. And maybe that's the lesson we've all been avoiding. That success is not something we chase, it's something we become. Not after the money, not after the applause, not once the world gives you permission, but now, in this breath, in this sacred silent agreement you make with yourself, that your life will no longer be a reaction, but a creation. That you will no longer wait for signs or circumstances or clarity to give you the green light. Because the truth is, you are the green light. The future you want is not a fantasy. It is a direction. And that direction begins the moment you decide to stop living as a spectator and step fully into the arena. Not perfect, not fearless, but ready. Ready to burn the excuses. Ready to silence the inner critic. Ready to build something that outlives you. Because that's what this is really about, isn't it? Legacy. Not just making a living, but making a mark. Not just surviving the days, but sculpting time into a masterpiece. It's about reaching the end of your life with your soul on fire, not your dreams still locked inside you. It's about becoming the person your younger self believed you could be, and your future self will thank you for. You want success? Then become the kind of person success has no choice but to follow. Live with such conviction, such clarity, such consistency, that even when the storms come, and they will, you stand. Not because it's easy, but because it's who you are. Because decision is not a one-time event. It is a vow. A vow to yourself that you will not betray your potential for the cheap comfort of momentary pleasure. A vow that your actions will match your ambition. That your standards will outgrow your surroundings. That your hunger will be louder than your history. And when you make that vow, the universe listens. Doors open. People show up. Ideas flow. Not because life suddenly got easier, but because you finally got in alignment with what was waiting for you all along. And still, the world will try to distract you. It will offer you shortcuts and shiny things and comfort disguised as success. It will tell you to slow down, to settle, to fit in. But you weren't born for average. You weren't designed for safety. You were built for impact. You were born to wake others up just by being fully awake yourself. To be a mirror that reflects not society's fears, but the soul's infinite possibility. So don't ask if it's going to be hard. Ask if it's going to be worth it. Don't ask how long it will take. Ask how far you can go, because time will pass anyway. The years will move whether you show up or not. But if you decide, truly decide, to live on purpose, then you will begin to collapse time itself. Because focused energy creates miracles. And maybe you won't get applause. Maybe no one will see the late nights, the early mornings, the silent battles, but you will know. And that knowing will become your peace. That knowing will become your power. And that's what success really is. It is peace. Peace in your chest, peace in your soul, peace that you showed up, that you grew, that you became everything you were created to be. So breathe it in now. Let it settle in your bones. Success is not out there. It is not later. It is here. It begins the moment you decide. And now, you have. Go. Build the life that reflects your highest self. Speak the words that awaken others. Move with intention so fierce, even your shadow can't keep up. Make every day a tribute to the decision you made to live fully, because nothing is more powerful than a human being who has finally remembered who they are, why they're here, and what they're capable of. You don't need motivation. You are the spark. You don't need permission. You are the author. You don't need to wait. You already hold the pen. So write it, live it, be it. Success begins the moment you decide.